All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Mic'd Up Outdoors. I am your host, Josh Tanner, and today I have a couple people with me today. One, my son, Thad. He's jumping in on this podcast today because of our guest. He is kind of my link to this guest. So today's guest is Mr. Davis Frey, a.k.a. Fish Fray. He's got a tremendous following on YouTube, and he is one of these young, super talented steelhead fishermen, and this is kind of just going to parlay and into the last week's podcast that I had with Roger Sharp. So anyway, Davis, I appreciate you coming on today.
Of course, I appreciate the invite. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So Thad, my son, thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Anytime.
So we just kind of suckered Thad into jumping in on this one. I figured why not? He wasn't doing anything at the time when Davis showed up. So I'm like, hey, you like to steelhead fish? You know, let's do it.
Why not?
Right.
Suppose.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, Davis, thank you so much for coming on. I reached out to you probably, about a month or so ago?
Yep.
And just honestly, just like kind of cold called. I'm like, you know what? I love this kid's stuff. I want to learn more about him and his journey, and I just reached out, and you were very, very welcoming to answer right away and say, yeah, let's do it. So you're saying this is your first podcast?
This is definitely my first podcast. I've actually never really been asked. Like, I don't feel like I turned anyone down. I try to respond to everyone who reaches out to me with ideas and anything like that. And, try to connect with whoever. And I've met so many cool people through that. So.
Yeah, and I'm super honored that I'm like your first. It's kind of creepy, but but anyway, I appreciate you coming on and jumping in with us. And I appreciate you driving up from downstate to do this. Today is kind of a crappy weather day, and you came up and I love getting people in the studio, and it just makes for a better experience, I think, for the listeners and stuff. So anyway, to get started, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, where you're from, how old you are, just kind of the 10,000 foot view of you.
For sure. So I'm 24 and I'm not from Michigan. So I don't know if that goes against the theme of your podcast a little bit.
Not at all. Not at all.
No roots in Michigan for me. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio.
Okay.
And I left there in 2017 to come to school up here at Ferris State. So Big Rapids, just down the road.
Yep.
I wanted to live up here because I just kind of fell in love with the river fishing up here. So that's why I went to Ferris. I wanted to be close to all these awesome rivers.
Yeah.
And that's what got me up here. And I'm still up here, but I graduated from Ferris in 21, and now I'm at Grand Valley.
Okay.
So a little bit more downstate than I'd probably like to be, but still where I want to be in Michigan.
You got some great rivers down there, too.
Still on the west side of the state.
Yeah.
Plenty of water over there.
Yeah, you've actually probably got down there on the Grand. You've got probably the biggest push of fish out of any river in the state.
Yep. I do not take enough advantage of my proximity to downtown. I'm a terrible downtown fisherman. I really suck down there, but I do stop by, when I can and try to get a few fish. So.
I have fished that in the past, and I just cannot get over the fact that I am in the middle of the city, the concrete jungle. And I mean, I know that the fishing is awesome. But that's not really what I'm into it for. Like, I just want to be somewhere where I can see the birds and the trees and hear the river and not hear the honking horns and, everything that a city is. It's just not my scene. But with that being said, like, it's incredible fishing. Yeah. Let's be honest. So, what are you going to school for?
So I got my bachelor's in environmental biology.
Okay.
Now I'm doing biology. My goal is always I wanted to work in natural resource management or fisheries management. Sure. I wanted to study what I was passionate about. That's fish, not just fish, but like anything freshwater. I just love the Great Lakes, and I just wanted to know everything about that kind of stuff. And now I'm totally deep into it.
Yeah.
I actually study algae now for my master's.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
So it was kind of just an opportunity. fisheries is really competitive, especially in Michigan. And algae is kind of something it's really important, and it's like a more of a hot topic issue in like recent times and stuff. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to like learn a skill set that not as many people have.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it's ended up being really cool. So I've been
That's cool.
2 years down the algae rabbit hole during doing my master's.
Okay. So where is that? I guess what is the end result of that? What is that going to look like when you get that?
That's a great question. So I mean,
because it's I feel like it's relatively specific.
Mm-hmm.
I just, you know what I mean? It's just like, what's the end game look like with that?
Right. I certainly don't want to only do algae for the rest of my life.
Sure.
I'm open to like anything. I've kind of gone through my college experience, half investing into my YouTube channel and half investing into my education and career.
Yeah.
And that's kind of still where I'm at. I probably need to work more in the industry of natural resource management and gain some more experience, even though I'm going to have a master's. I need to put more time in, gain like a more broad experience before I'll be able to get like biologist positions, which are like those stable type of positions where you're doing really cool work and you have benefits and stuff like that.
Yeah. So is that something that you're mainly going to focus on with like through a state level, or is that through, I mean, there's obviously companies, right? Mm-hmm. That like, there's got to be tons of companies that deal on that whole biology aspect of it. I mean, it's not just like a state DNR type job.
Right. So I've actually worked for companies in the past. That's where most of my experience is. I've spent the last summers working for a consulting company.
Okay.
And companies are really cool. The pay ceiling is a lot higher, and they do some really cool work. But my dream has always been to work for the state.
Nice. State bennies.
At least, yeah. That's a big thing, man. It really is.
Yeah, for sure.
But another thing I've considered now, after working for a small consulting company, it would be really cool to run my own consulting company. They get to choose, you get to choose what kind of work you do.
There you go.
And there's all sorts of cool stuff you can do.
I think that's a great goal to have is to be able to work for yourself and, kind of set the standard, or I guess just set the schedule for it. So, I mean, that's awesome. I think probably the biggest thing is get yourself some good, big, fat contracts, and then
that seems to be the key.
You take it from there. So, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
those are just options, though. Like I said, I've also invested into doing fishing YouTube, which is what I've done for 6 years now. That's been not my only job, obviously, but that's one of my ways I've made income. So it's still there.
Yeah, and that's honestly, that's how I found you. I mean, actually, I think it was Thad that actually helped me. I mean, just come out, find you, I guess. So he's like, Dad, you got to check this kid out. I'm like, look at this videos and look at this stuff. And I mean, that's what drew me in. And honestly, like the one video that you had was the Platte River video, which
that drone shot of all those.
The drone shot was absolutely ridiculous. And I fished the Platte a lot in my younger years, and I've seen that before, but I'd never seen it from an above view look.
Bird's eye view.
Yeah, it was freaking incredible. And I mean, that video, well, it was a blessing in a
yeah, of course.
A blessing and what's the other
nightmare.
word? Nightmare all in one.
Forbidden footage for everyone who is like, oh, this sounds awesome. Show me.
Yeah.
Nope. It's erased from the internet. I'm not allowed to have it, distribute it.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, we can get into it for sure. So I guess going all the way back to when you started fishing, who got you into it?
Yeah, so my grandparents both fished, or both of my grandfathers mainly, but we were from Northwest Ohio. I grew up in Toledo. Not exactly a fishing hotspot.
It's not something that I think of when I think Steelhead.
Famous for Lake Erie walleye fishing, but the inland opportunities really, really limited. So it's like we're talking farm ponds,
Mm-hmm.
But both of my grandfathers actually fly fished.
Okay.
And it was like I started getting into fly fishing at a young age.
Sure.
And fishing in rivers, it just really appealed to me. So this is like when I'm like I don't know, 12, 13,
Sure.
14.
Yeah.
And I just really fell in love with fishing rivers. We had one river. We had the Maumee River, which is like a huge warm water catfish, sheephead, gar, just junk fish, right? But I like fell in love with just catching bigger fish, like at a young age, being able to pull on big fish like that. So I got into that river fishing rabbit hole, and I didn't really have anyone to like guide me through that. Like I said, my grandparents and my mom, like they fish farm ponds, and you know we would catch bluegill, bring them home, and eat them, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I got obsessed with the river fishing thing, and pretty much I learned what steelhead were. Like there wasn't even YouTube videos really. A lot of steelhead videos I was watching.
No.
I just learned like through like DNR postings and stuff, or like, go, you know, this is where we stock steelhead in Ohio. And I was like, all right, Mom, Dad, like you got to drive me out here.
Let's check this out.
Yeah. So it was a lot of my parents driving me way out, and I was never local to any of this stuff either.
Okay.
Driving a minimum hour and a half out to where they stocked steelhead.
Oh, no kidding. Man, thanks, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. They made it possible until I had a license. And most of those trips I didn't catch anything.
Right.
Because nobody was showing us.
Nobody knew, you know. You just didn't know.
Yeah. So, and then I was all fly fishing at this time too.
Which makes it even tougher, I would figure.
So finally I hook one, you know, jumping all over on the fly rod.
Yeah.
I catch one. Like then it's really bad. Like there's no going back. Like there's no other fishing like that.
No, I know. And I tell people that all the time. And I mean, I love to bass fish, and I've got tons of friends that are into that. And I always say, you just got to come along, do some steelhead fishing, some salmon fishing. I'm like, not dogging bass. Smallmouth bass are awesome. I love catching them, but there is nothing like catching a steelhead.
Yeah,
there's nothing that compare, at least that I'm aware of, and I could be wrong. Somebody could easily debate me on that, but to me, that when I started, I just got ate up with it.
Yep, I have a pretty broad appreciation for fishing, especially now. But I did get tied up into that river fly fishing situation, and then more recently, I've like diversified more and like appreciated more of everything. But once I had that experience, it was all about getting out there and then getting my driver's license, making the commute.
Yeah, no doubt.
Always worth it.
So you were running that hour and a half once you got your driver's license. Were you pretty much like, this is where I'm going?
Yep. It was kind of like my parents were like, you know, we're not like, we like that you're fishing, but we're not going to fill your gas tank to go do this, right? Like, this is completely ridiculous. So that's kind of how it all, like, I was like, okay, I need to work to like support this addiction. And pretty quickly into that, I saw that people were doing YouTube.
Yep.
And that it was like a way that you can make money.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, all right, I need to get a GoPro and see if I can like turn this back into filling my gas tank and getting out there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it all started, was like I needed gas money, and I worked at the grocery store, I worked at a golf course and stuff, but I wanted to see if I could like make it work, you know, make it pay for itself.
And I think that's a lot how even you got started in it, Thad, was like, you just like, hey, I love fishing. You know, I took Thad fishing just for, you know, little stuff, but back when I was, you know, when the kids were younger, like I would load him up in the boat and we'd go steelhead and salmon fish. And I mean, he didn't even know what the heck he was doing. Did you? I mean, no, you had no clue.
I hated it up until I finally could catch him on my own.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, because I was like, here's the rod, take the rod, and you know, it's like, oh, this is great. Well, you know, but
wait another 6 hours for another bite.
Yeah, you were really young at the time, so I
hardly even remember it.
Yeah. So, but it was a while before you actually started getting into it yourself. I mean,
probably
just
3-4 years.
3-4 years now. Yeah.
When I fished with Thad, we were all learning. Me, Thad, and your buddy Ryan. We were all learning.
That was
together.
That was the first day I've ever used a center pin. You and Ryan were trying to teach me how to do it, and I probably burned through 200 yards of line that first couple go-arounds. That was brutal.
That's great.
It's part of the game for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So what, when you got out of the, I mean, you started out in the fly fly fishing end of it, when did you transition into the next step? Which it wasn't center pin, was it? It was just like spin cast, maybe, or did you go, right into from fly fishing to doing, running a center pin?
Yeah. So I have a really weird backwards way that this all worked, and it is actually a good story.
Okay.
So before I got really into steelhead fishing, I decided I needed a center pin to fish the Maumee River for catfish.
Okay.
Because I kind of realized that if I got seined up a bucket of minnows and floated them under a bobber,
right,
that you could really tear up the fish in that river. So I saw a center pin in Bass Pro Shops, like, the cheapest one you can get.
Sure.
And the guy was explaining to me what it does, and I was like, oh my God, if I had this long rod and I can hit these current seams, like, I got to have it. So I asked for it for Christmas. Like, the whole setup was going to be like my whole Christmas present. And my parents got me the center pin, and then I started catching steelhead on the fly, never even rigged it up for multiple years. And then literally my mom was so angry about this because, like, she told me that it was stupid and that I shouldn't even ask for it. So she's like, you know what? Like, let me buy it back from you. So she's like, I want to use it. Like, I want it to be. So she like took the center pin from me.
Okay.
And I never used it for like 3 years since I had the whole setup.
No doubt. That's crazy.
And then I started realizing that the dudes on the river with the 13-foot rods and the purple and gold center pins, you talk to them and they've hooked like 15 fish. And that's like, I didn't even think that was possible. Like in the middle of winter, they're probably laughing at me and they're always hooked up.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing? Like, the fly fishing, it's fun. It's like a challenge, but I don't need this much challenge.
Like, I feel like the fly fishing is something that you end up, that's like an end game. Like, I've done it all with the spin cast or the bait cast or the center pin. I'm going to try and get them on the fly because, like, to me, that's the toughest way to get them. I mean, that's what I would consider the toughest. I mean, I've thrown flies before, but never as like a fly fishing setup. I've thrown flies under a bobber. I've thrown them, bottom bouncing and stuff, but never actually fly fished for them.
Well,
so
you even used your fly rod for bottom bouncing, which makes no sense, but
so like when I first started fishing and we fished the smaller rivers, like we called it chuck and duck. You had a fly reel and you just spooled it up with backing and mono, and then you would just strip out as much as you want to make an accurate cast. Say, I got to throw it 10 feet. Well, you just strip out about 10 feet and you just drop it in, and you could repeat that cast over and over and over again. So, I mean, it made it it was accurate rather than trying to do it with a spin cast, which, you can get really good with a spin cast, but sometimes, something happens, you throw it into the trees, whatever. So with a fly reel, we were able to just continually mimic that same cast, and I mean, we got really, really good at it. But yeah, that was, and that's what we ran. We ran a fly fishing setup just with mono.
I still see that on this morning. I saw two guys on the river, and I was explaining it to my buddies. I was like, "Look at his reel. Like, that's just mono. It's like, it's amnesia. That's everyone uses amnesia." And I'm like, these guys are extremely talented at this bottom bouncing presentation. They're chucking and ducking, and they do it for steelhead and for kings. And it's like one of the most efficient ways to always be hooked up.
Extremely.
And a lot of it's flossing, which is a whole nother conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
But still, it's like, I didn't do that. I was indicator fishing, which is how I learned and how a lot of people do it over on Erie tributaries. Right. But essentially, it's more difficult than float fishing, but you're trying to achieve the same thing. So that's once I realized I was trying to achieve the same thing, there was just a way easier way to do it. It was like, I was like, okay, Mom, like, that like weird rod that you have, like, I need that back.
Right.
And she was like mad about it. And we went to the river and I made this super cheesy video where I was like, fishing challenge versus my mom. Like, if I win, she gives me the center pin rod back. So this was a long time ago, but I won the rod back. So thus began the center pin.
On a steelhead, right? You caught a steelhead, or was it just a fishing challenge in general?
Nope. Steelhead fishing on the river. We both caught fish. It
Okay.
was good time over there on the Erie Tribs.
Yeah, so I've never fished the Erie Tribs at all. So, like, the steelhead over there are smaller, right? Generally smaller?
No doubt. Not 100%. The average size is literally in the 20 to 24 inch range.
But is there more of them?
There is way more because of the stocking numbers compared to the size of the streams.
Okay.
So I usually highly recommend Erie tributaries to people that are learning to fish.
Okay.
And actually a lot of Michigan anglers from like Detroit metro area.
Okay.
Or even like lower central Michigan.
Sure.
They travel. They
Go
get on
south.
the turnpike and they go to fish Erie tributaries because it's so good.
That's interesting. I mean, and there's not that many rivers, right?
Nope. There's 6 stock tributaries.
Okay.
And then there's so much stocking numbers and so much straying that any creek in that vicinity has a fishable number of fish from like fall through spring.
No doubt. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a ton of fun.
Is it more shallow river stuff? I mean, I guess.
Very.
Yeah.
So people in Michigan don't get this. I try to explain it. So Michigan rivers are fed by groundwater.
Yep.
So they always flow they all have a base flow that's like for a mid-Michigan river, maybe 200 CFS, 300, 400 CFS. Ohio streams, there's no base flow, no groundwater. They're all fed by ditches. So the base flow in the summer, these will push 10 CFS.
Like they're stagnant.
A big river.
Yeah.
And we'll fish them at 200 to 300 CFS.
Wow.
But it's totally different stream situation. It's not even comparable.
That's wild that those fish would even be in there in the summertime.
Well, there's nothing in there in the summer.
There's nothing in there in the summer. They couldn't survive in there in the summer. There's not enough oxygen, is there? I mean,
they're not trout streams. No.
Yeah.
So it's all put and take. They put in the smolts right when they're ready to go.
Yep.
Somehow they survive in Lake Erie in the deep water.
Right.
And they survive really well.
Yeah.
And they come back. They come back once it's cold enough.
Yeah, there must be there must be a really good forage in Lake Erie, better than,
There's an enormous amount of bait.
Yeah.
And sometimes a lot of Michigan steelhead, if you ever cut them open, usually they don't have stuff in their stomach.
No, yeah.
Ohio fish, they'll have 4-inch shad in their stomach.
Really?
A big bait from the lower river.
That seems it seems weird, but it almost seems counterproductive because a lot of, like you said, a lot of the fish, the steelhead that we catch here, they don't ever have anything in their stomach. But down there, they're loaded, but they're smaller. The fish.
Yep.
Which seems like those fish would be giant if they were getting that much forage. So
it's hard to understand. It's got to have to do with the growing season and stuff. But another really interesting topic that I recently realized was more contentious is about whether steelhead eat through the wintertime.
Sure.
And I gave this seminar at the sports show.
Okay.
And I was followed up by Jim Bedford.
Okay.
Who is a really well-known older steelhead fisherman who's been in the game forever.
Yeah.
And I made the claim that steelhead, they're like a trout. They sit in feeding lanes and they wait for stuff to come by their face.
Right.
And they grab stuff that looks like food. And Jim Bedford, an expert, he's written books. He's an expert. He makes the claim, I don't really buy that because there's never anything in these fish's stomach.
Yeah,
so
that is weird.
My theory is that in the wintertime, there's bugs. Bugs don't drift really in the wintertime for the most part.
Right.
Bugs emerge in, whatever season that the hatch occurs. So they're in the rocks, right, until they emerge. Yeah. And then they're in the drift, and then the fish eat them like trout. But in the winter, it's occasional stoneflies that would emerge. Yeah. So I think, especially in Erie tribs, I think these fish are pretty hungry. I think there's nothing coming by for them to eat.
Right. So it's just like, oh, hey, hamburger, I'm in. You know, when it comes to food. So
that's my theory. So empty stomach. Aggressive. Yeah, they're hungry, right?
Yeah,
like they don't need a lot of food to make it through the winter. That's for sure. They're pretty dormant, but I think they need something. So.
Yeah. So what do you consider a good day of fishing in the Erie tribs?
If we go out and we don't hook 10 fish,
oh man,
we're a little bit bummed for sure. Like we keep it realistic.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about numbers really. Sure. I'm just trying to have a good time. Yeah. But realistically, with our level of experience on the Erie tribs, if you're not hitting double digits, like you probably either the conditions were really tough or you just got beat by the crowd cycle or whatever.
Now is that covering a bunch of ground, or can you do that in a short, a small area?
We definitely do it in a hole on one of the bigger rivers.
Yeah.
We like to cover ground. We don't like to sit at one hole all day.
Sure.
It's no fun.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, we try to hit where we can. Of course it's busy.
Yeah. Do they get like a lot of people traffic down there?
Yep. It's all really urban.
Yeah.
Close to Cleveland metro area.
Okay.
So.
And I'm assuming this is all wader. No boats? Or do you get some boats down in
Almost
the lower
no
stretches?
boats.
Almost no boats.
There's a little bit of a boat fishery on some of the bigger rivers. Mostly it's people trolling stagnant water.
Okay.
But not much of a drift boat fishery or anything like that.
I'll be damned. See, that's weird. It's weird that there's that much of a different diversity from the same state, just one side of the state to the next, because, on the west side of the state, man, there's a ton of boats. Depending on what river system you're on, or, whether it be, if it's a Big Manistee or the Muskegon or the Pure Marquette, there's a lot of boats. The Grand River gets a ton of boats and stuff in it. So, so interesting. Interesting. So when you moved up when did you first make a trip up north for Steelhead?
Yeah. So how I kind of realized, my dad and my family has always came up to, like Sleeping Bear Dunes.
Okay.
That was a common summer vacation for us. So I kind of fell in love with that area. But we were never there. Only in the summer were we ever there. So I never saw salmon.
Sure.
Never saw steelhead. But my grandpa Jim had a family friend with a cabin on one of the West Michigan salmon rivers.
Okay.
And they're like telling us, your grandson fishes. Like, you got to see this in the fall.
Right.
So finally went up there in the fall when I'm like 14 years old and see the salmon run for what it is, which is an absolute spectacle.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that it didn't take long after that. I realized I needed to go to school in Michigan.
Sure.
I needed to be there.
Yeah.
So
you came up here specifically because of that, or was like the education, like the programs were there that you wanted, but the fishing was just like a bonus of it?
So Michigan has really great fisheries programs.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to Michigan's really great fisheries programs.
Right.
I was going to go to Lake Superior State in Sault Ste. Marie, which is one of the best for that.
Yep, for sure.
But I kind of realized the winters there were
they
tough.
Suck. Yeah, they suck. Let's be honest. It's freaking Lake Superior.
And now I actually have several friends from Sault Ste. Marie. I had one who's a roommate for a year.
Okay.
So I've got to experience their stuff, which in the summertime is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And I know how it is up there, and I think I made a good choice. I wanted to fish year round, and Ferris was just, to me, the best option. I got a really great deal from him, and that was my decision. The fishing factored into it for sure a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Did you play sports as a kid?
Well, people always ask me if I played basketball because I'm really tall.
Sure. How tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
Damn.
So people don't realize that.
I knew
from
you
the
were
videos.
tall, but I did not realize that.
Terrible at basketball, like miserably bad at basketball. But I did play for like one season on the freshman team.
Okay.
I ran cross country and track because that's what my friends did.
Okay.
Not good at that either.
Yeah.
Pretty slow. But I did that throughout high school. So
right. Yeah. Well, that's where fishing comes into play.
Yeah, that's a sport. Come on now.
Yeah. Let's not downplay what you got going on here. You could look back at those kids that were really good in high school at sports and say, "Hey, check it out. See this money? See this check that's coming in?"
No,
I don't play sports. Well, you know what I'm saying.
Nothing to brag about.
Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying, but it's something. It's something. So,
yep.
These guys just get to talk about what they did in high school.
Well, my buddies were pretty athletic. My best fishing buddy was like, who I fished with in a ton of my videos. He was like basketball star, super good at soccer, and all he does is fish now.
Yeah,
me and him. So
I had a buddy of mine that when we were in high school, he was never at school. And of course, we were all playing sports and everything, and he was always like, "Man, I went up to the Platte, or I went to the Betsy, or I went over to the Bay walleye fishing. And he was always doing those things that we like really wanted to do, but we were playing sports, and he was just doing it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So once we got done with school, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in on this. So, and at the time I'm like, man, I wish I wouldn't have freaking ran track or played football, all that stuff, just because I wanted to like do that stuff.
Yeah, the seasons overlap pretty badly.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah. And I think Thad didn't play football because
after my freshman year, I quit football because I'd rather go hunting and fishing. So,
yeah.
No doubt.
I got better things to do.
Yeah. So, and I mean, a lot of people, there's an argument there that, you can't get that back, and that's fine. But, I mean, there's a lot of great stories.
Then again, it's like if I didn't quit, maybe I wouldn't be where I'm at in the filming industry.
There you go.
Right
yeah.
now. So
there you go.
Who knows?
That's right. Yeah. Everything leads to something. So that's just your thing. So, so let's dive into the whole fishing part of it. Technique wise, you started out fly fishing. You went to center pin because you beat your mom in a contest.
Pretty much.
What's your favorite technique?
I don't think center pinning gets old.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that once you get it figured out, it's like too easy. And this is what I talked about in my little seminar that I gave too. You're creating the perfect presentation, and you don't give the fish any single reason to not eat it on the drift. They see is your bait. It's perfectly presented.
Right.
You hook them. It's a ton of fun fighting them with no drag.
Yeah.
I never had a day where like I've hooked so many steelhead that I'm like, this is too easy. Like put the center pin down. I love float fishing for steelhead. I love the visual bite. A lot of the reason I almost exclusively float fish is for the video purpose. Yeah. Because it's a visual that I can get, that I can't get with other techniques.
Right.
But still, it's genuine. I really love it.
Yeah. So when I started out, we were, obviously, when I started out steelhead fishing, we were primarily using fly reels with mono and chuck and duck. And then, I started fishing on the bigger rivers. We got boats. We heard all the boat guys that were, catching fish, like Roger Sharp, who I talked to last week. He was always catching a ton of steelhead. And I'm like, man, I need to do this. So we got boats, and we started just fishing spin casts. Well, a spin cast is great for casting, but it's not great for like what I would consider a good presentation, because you constantly have to open, close the bail, and it worked. And I know guys that still do it. Roger still does it. And we did it for a ton of years. And then up until just 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, because Davis taught me how to use it.
Yeah. You two guys go fishing. Yeah, and Thad's like, dude, you got to try out this center pin. And I'm like, I need another freaking steelhead rod and reel. Like, I need a hole in the head. And then you bought one. Yeah. Thad, you bought yours and immediately started getting hookups. And I'm just like, oh, damn it. Now I'm stuck. Now I got to get into this because I can't have my kid outfish me. Wow. So that's when I got into center pin fishing too. And then we always bottom bounced in the summertime and then in the spring. And then we got in the fall in the fall, we'd bottom bounce. In the wintertime, we'd run bobbers. Dude, there's nothing better than a bobber take. I mean, and that's, your videos are primarily just bobber downs.
I do that. I genuinely think it's cool, but it also gets the views for whatever reason, because that's what everyone wants to see, right?
Yeah.
I do get a little bit worried that people might think I'm like a technique elitist in some way.
Sure.
I was just fishing with a group of guys this morning, and they're bottom bouncers. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. That's how they roll.
Right.
And they're like they're like asking me like, oh, like, what do you think about like fishing on reds? Like, what do you think about this or that? Like I don't really judge the way that other people fish. Sure. I just try to use my videos, first of all, to show the bobber, because that's the best way to see them bite, but also just in general encourage like reasonable, ethical angling.
Sure.
Like, just don't do absurd things that are obnoxious and hurt the fish.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really do not care. And I don't look down on anyone, and I don't think center pinning is the only way to do it.
No.
Use whatever you have and get out there, right? Like that's what I'd like to say, but I'm just always float fishing.
Yeah.
So.
I have seen guys in the springtime just absolutely just rip fish, and it's cringy. It's cringy for sure. And I mean, whatever, I'm not that guy that, would look down on anybody. It's your deal. You can do whatever but once I discovered the whole center pin thing, and one of the biggest things for me was like, I don't want to see the fish. I don't want to see them, because then there's that temptation factor that comes into play, and I just don't want to be tempted, man, because like it's illegal totally to snag fish, but it's so much more gratifying when you know that fish, the take was like, he bit it, like he brought it up, and I mean it's awesome, and then that's how bobbers kind of eliminate that whole setup.
That's what I've been trying to preach, particularly for king salmon on the run.
Yep.
That if you fish with a presentation that's either attempt to snag or even attempt to floss or fishing for visible fish, you are not going to be satisfied with only hooking one or two fish.
Right.
When you have the visual and you know that you can hook them and it's out of their control, you instinctively want to be hooked up constantly.
Right.
Whereas if you treat them as like a trophy fish and you're trying to trick them, then you become content with 2 or 3 hookups, which is what you should expect from most fishing trips.
Yeah.
So I think most people come up for the salmon run, they're expecting to hoot and holler and be bent all the time.
Right.
And it's just not how it works with a fish that's pushing upriver and not feeding.
And I know for a long time, you couldn't convince me that a salmon bit, because I just never, it was never really instilled in me that they were biters. But then I had some friends that they were like, man, like we're back bouncing spawn and we're getting bit. And like, so I was just committed to it. And I'm like, oh man, once you get that first bite, it's just like, this is freaking incredible. Like, this is such an incredible feeling, because I mean, obviously steelhead are awesome in their own special way. Salmon are just absolute mega beasts when it comes to hooking up on them. I mean, that gets me really jacked up, but it's a different crowd of fishermen too.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
It's definitely a different crowd of fishermen.
Yeah. So no matter what I do, I can't change like the general attitude that fishermen have, because there's so many of them.
Right.
But yeah, it feels unattainable. I totally get it. It feels unattainable, especially when you can see them.
Right.
And I've also done it all. My first salmon fishing trips, fly rod, sight fishing, get it in their mouth however you can. Like I think that's how almost everyone probably got started fishing for these fish.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Even in my early YouTube stages, there's like a few moments where like it's a little bit sketchy. I'm fly fishing. It's probably flossing some fish.
Sure.
So, I mean, I just hope that maybe makes it seem more attainable to everybody.
I think so
too. They can see the progression.
No, I truly feel that, like, if you do your homework and you learn, you truly want to learn, you can. I mean, it's definitely attainable for sure. It's just whether or not that person wants to learn is really the bottom line of it. So, what do you like fishing better? Bigger bodies of water, bigger rivers, little rivers?
As someone who's never really had a proper boat, I like fishing small stuff and medium stuff. I would say like my favorite rivers are like those classic Michigan, like medium sized rivers that, you can cross them.
No.
But, they feel like small quarters, and I fish a lot of smaller stuff too, because it makes for really good videos. But
I agree.
The big rivers are really cool. It's just, everyone's got a boat, if you have someone's boat you can get into, it's fun. But for me, it's just, I didn't really grow up around boats. So don't have that kind of like boat
Thad
culture.
got spoiled because I had boats. So,
and you have buddies with boats.
And I had buddies with boats. Yeah. I mean, I had buddies that are guides. Buddies
that built boats.
Buddies that built boats. Yeah. So, I mean, but I learned, wader fishing. Like, I learned Little Manistee, Pure Marquette, Platte, Betsy, all of that stuff. And it's kind of like I did all that stuff, and then I wanted to discover the boat. And then I just started getting older, and I started getting like, man, I don't want to walk. I want to ride in my boat, you know? So we would do that, and I mean, we had great days. But I'll be honest with you, I feel like I'm starting to work back in the reverse direction and going back to the rivers just because that's where I cut my teeth. That's where I started. And I mean,
I feel like it's so much more rewarding in those smaller rivers, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
It's intimate. I think that's a good word for it. It's intimate when you get on those little rivers, and
you can catch a huge fish out of a body of water that's no bigger than this back here in this room.
Yeah,
I mean, it's tiny.
Yeah, for sure.
That's like the original appeal for me. I mean, getting into this whole thing is the big fish and small river concept. Right. It's really the craziest
it's
thing.
Just like, how can a fish this size be in a river this small? Like this, you know, some of those smaller tributaries
It's
are
a puddle.
Yeah, they're not much more than, 20, 30 feet wide in different areas, you know?
The stuff we fish in the Erie Tribs is comical, how the size of ditches that they go into.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like a ditch.
Yep.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And even here in Michigan, they find their way in, especially in the springtime. But
yeah,
sometimes there's spots that are too small for, especially in Michigan, that you have no chance of landing them.
No, not with a rod that's 13 foot long.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the rod itself is about the length of, or about the width of the river itself. So I mean, it makes it difficult. So, how do you break down your water?
I don't know. It's like, as I was trying to show these guys this morning, like where I fish, you know, I pretty much just look for holes. Like I really am a hole fisherman. When it comes to like other parts of the river that hold fish, I really struggle. Like these guys have these fast water runs figured out, and I'm pretty helpless in there with the float. I in terms of breakdown water, like if I'm going to a new river, I look for beat banks and bobbers and trees. That's like one of my go-to things, like, honestly.
It's very, very simple, but yet very effective. Like just look for where other people are, because it's kind of like in the deer woods. Just look for old tree stands, and that's probably a pretty good place to start. Yeah. So same thing with fishing. So,
I don't think there's a lot of secrets left on most of these rivers, especially in the wintertime. The places that hold fish year-round, people visit them, you know, and you can tell. And then like the progression is figuring out the other spots where you can go on a busy day,
the secondary,
and encounter the fish, and that's just takes time and snag after snag and effort. So
for sure. How do you deal with people?
Yeah, in terms of like crowds on the river, I think that's one of the biggest factors in like the success of your day is, you know, we call it the crowd cycle.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can predict it if you know a river really well.
Right.
I fish totally differently because I do the YouTube videos. Yep. I like to go super early and get a spot that I know I might hook up so I can be alone and I can get my camera set up. I hate interacting with people with my cameras out because, you know, you never know what their reaction's going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
So I pretty much am like super like reclusive. Like I try to get somewhere deep in the woods where I know I can get fish and get set up, get the fish, and like get out of there. Like
it's
pretty
weird.
much.
It's interesting you say that because I watched a ton of your videos. I never see other people other than maybe the person you're fishing, and I'm like, how is this kid finding these spots where nobody else is at?
Honestly, I'm always in the mix. I'm always in the mix with other guys. I don't visit parking lots that are empty. Like I'm always in the mix with other guys. I just think if there's a lot of guys around, I'll probably just not fish.
Right.
If I wasn't filming, I probably would fish if there's open spots.
Sure.
But I just avoid the confrontation, and I think that I don't really let it get to me. Like everyone's out there for the same reason.
Right.
And especially in Michigan, people seem to respect each other's holes. At least in the small rivers, it's just absurd if you're fishing, you know, on top of someone else.
Yeah.
Erie Tribs, you get some overlap where you're in a run, and it's like where else am I going to go? So I'm going to come on top and I'm going to step down and down and down until I'm fishing the same thing as you.
Yeah.
But I don't really see that on the small Michigan rivers. I know on the big rivers with boats, I know you guys experience stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
we had just not too long ago. I mean, we were fishing a great run and dude, this dude just rolled right up on top of us, right in front of us, dropped down and just started fishing. I was just like, oh,
I'm not
man.
trying to act like I own the river, but there's respect.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of respect.
Yeah.
I guess you could say. But, I mean, at the same time, it's like, it's a free country.
It is.
It's a free
It is
river.
what it is. Yep. And I'm
Gotta
not going to be one of those guys that, like, is all, like, I don't
causing
know.
a scene over.
Yeah, I'm just not into that stuff.
I'm just there to enjoy
Yeah,
myself. And
yeah. We
possibly
can enjoy
catch a
together.
couple
If you
fish.
want to get your fish, that's cool, man. I'll find another spot. I think that's the luxury of knowing enough spots is like you can deal with that just because you know
Right.
that there's another spot that you can go fish. So, but
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. When's your favorite time of year to fish?
I really like winter.
Yeah,
March,
just because of the seclusion of it.
not even. I catch the most fish in winter.
Yeah,
I suck in March. We were just talking about this earlier. I am on 3 skunks in a row right now. I really
what you don't
always-
catch fish every time you go.
well, you can't make a video with no fish. So
fish Fray doesn't catch fish.
it's the same thing with the people in the background of the videos, right? Like you only see the action. So
Right.
like you only see the parts that are suitable
only see the
for
good
a video.
stuff.
So you introduced this by like calling me some kind of like talented fisherman, and I guarantee you'll get some comments from like some of my haters that subscribe to me.
Sure.
Like they'll wind their way to the video and be like, "What are you saying? Like,
Yeah.
he's only been fishing for 5 years."
Yeah.
But I don't have like enormous confidence, especially in Michigan. I don't walk around with like this confidence that I'm going to hook up all the time. I get humbled, routinely, but I think I get humbled the least in the wintertime.
Yeah,
So-
I this year for me personally, I probably fished more this fall and this winter than I have in a long time. And I sucked. Like I sucked. I can count on one hand how many freaking fish I caught from November till this point. I mean,
To the point where I told Dad that he's not going with me anymore. I'm like, dude, you suck. 'Cause
Yeah.
every time I would go and a buddy would go with me, I'd be like, like it wasn't a great year for me either, but like I'd get, I'd hook 4, 5, maybe 6. And then I'd go with Dad and it'd be like grind it out on an 8-hour trip, dusk to dawn, and maybe stab one fish in the face. That's about it.
it's bad. My mojo and karma I don't know what I did to the fish gods this year, but I did not get rewarded at all. At all.
Ouch.
So, and I mean, it stinks, but you know what? I played this game enough knowing that, like, it's going to happen eventually. So, I mean, you just keep showing up. So, but yeah, I'm with you. Like, I love fishing wintertime. And I love fishing wintertime, one, because of the least amount of people, I guess, on the river. But, man, this year, like I was telling you earlier, I have never seen so many people in the wintertime fishing. And I don't know if that was because we didn't have a whole lot of ice on the lakes. You'd get these guys that are like ice fishermen, go do the walleye thing or the panfish thing. But, like, these guys love to steelhead fish too. But, like, there was no ice. So anybody that had a boat, man, they were on the river, and it was just like, oh, man, this is going to get difficult. And, like, these guys are good. Like,
There's so many good fishermen anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody's got a boat.
yeah. I feel like, well, except for Frey. He doesn't have a boat.
He doesn't need a boat.
He doesn't need a boat. So, yeah, it's one of those things where you need to be able to, well, one, deal with people and then step your game up, because the level of fishermen that are out there these days, man, they're good. Like, and I mean, I hate to say it, but we can blame it on ourselves. If you're a YouTube guy or an Instagram guy, social media, you share that stuff and people are going to learn and they're going to take it to heart.
Yep.
Yeah, we're making it accessible, and that's what pisses a lot of people off, is that the people who used to be really good at this and have these spots to themselves, they thought that they're like doing something that is not accessible to the average person.
Yeah.
Like they think that this is like some talent that they have within them.
Yeah.
To like interact with these fish in these secluded rivers.
Right.
And the problem is everyone should be able to experience that. That's why I started making videos along with, I say that I wanted to like fund my gas or whatever, but
Sure.
I also realized like the places I was going and fishing and like the free time that I had as a student was like, I was like, the guys who are working and they can't get out, like they should get to like see this or like know what it's like or get to try it because it's artificial. Like everyone, it's literally the DNR has created this for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the byproduct of people figuring it out is that it makes it harder.
Yeah.
But
it's just the law of averages. More people are on the river and they learn more and they catch more. And I mean, they tell their friends. I mean, think about it for a minute. You go out, you have a great day, you tell a buddy. He comes with you, he catches. Now, he's probably telling 3 of his buddies. And I mean, it is what it is. Like I'm not bashing anybody for sharing it. I love sharing it. There's nothing more exciting than for me nowadays is to share that with someone else. Yep. And I mean, and if that means I do it through, showing them on YouTube or just social media in general, like I like that sort of stuff. I want to see people succeed. I don't want to be that guy that like, oh, I'm the only guy on the river that catches fish. Screw the rest of you guys. You know, like I want to share that excitement with people.
Yeah, I think people with that attitude of that they think that they're doing things that other people can't and other people shouldn't and they don't want to help other people, I think that attitude is really toxic. And I still, I've encountered people that were either, vocally aggressive towards me or also just people like a great story is downtown. There are spots where you need a drop net to land fish.
Okay.
And I was on the other side of the river watching this younger kid, this kid Brody, who is an amazing fisherman at 15.
Okay.
He's fighting a fish off the wall, and I see there's a guy up there with him, and they've got no way to land this fish. They're like trying to figure out how to land this fish. So I've got a drop net on the other side of the river.
Yep.
Run all the way around, and sure enough, the guy he's fishing next to has a drop net, and he's not letting him use it because he's just such an angry, grouchy dude that he doesn't want to see this kid catch this fish.
Doesn't want to see this kid.
So he's like they have no way to land this fish, and he's got the drop net sitting right there, and they're like, nope, you can't use it.
That's bitter, man.
And there's all sorts of guys like that,
cold.
and they fish all the time. A lot of them are retired, and they just can't get over it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. I just like it's people can be selfish, man. People can be selfish, and like those are the type of people that I just try to avoid them. Like like I said, I want everybody to be able to enjoy what I love to do and share in it and teach people and stuff. So I mean, that's the best part about it to me. So, so we figured out, kind of taught us a little bit about techniques and what you look for and dealing with crowds. Let's get into your YouTube. So I did a little bit of just searching and stuff, and you've been doing YouTube for looks like 12 years now.
That's kind of misleading because the channel has existed. 12 years ago, I posted some random little clips.
Your first video that I saw anyway was a 45-second clip of a frog in a aquarium burying himself in moss. Yep.
Rest in peace to all of my pets from 12 years ago that I filmed.
Like I saw that and I'm like, okay. But I'll be damned, that son of a gun's got like 5,000 freaking views. And I'm like, what the hell?
Leave it sit for long enough.
Yeah.
12 years.
Showgirl.
Stew it.
Yeah, so let's see. So 12 years ago, I was 12. So I had a little green underwater camera.
Yeah.
And if only I had the idea and like the outgoing nature to like post my fishing stuff when I was 12 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Such strong regrets after seeing, like, right after that era, all of the people who did fishing YouTube and did really, really well.
Yeah, now they're huge.
Oh, man. Because I filmed myself fishing. I would never post myself, though, because I was, like, nervous about it.
Sure. You just didn't want to put yourself out there. It's like, oh, this is weird.
So, yeah, it took me until 7 years ago when I decided... I was in high school and I decided I wanted to try to film myself and do the whole thing where you're in the video and you're
Right.
vlogging and
Right.
like trying to build a connection with an audience.
Yeah, you're interacting with the people who are watching.
That's when I started that, which is
Yeah.
totally not my personality at all.
Yeah.
I'm pretty quiet.
Sure.
I'm not attention seeking. Like I hate like being the center of attention. So filming myself is super weird, but
Yeah.
I just kind of forced myself into it.
Yeah. No, I think you've done a great job up to this point. So you started that, let's see, 2010 is I think how old your channel is. You've got how many subscribers now?
Around a little over 30,000.
Yeah.
So
Which is, dude,
That's pretty good.
that's incredible.
it's not, I didn't know if I would get to that kind of point or not.
Yeah.
So how it happened, I started posting.
Yep.
And I grew faster than I thought I would. I posted these fly tying tutorials.
Okay.
They got views, and I got up to like 700. So maybe this
Yeah.
is helpful for people who are just getting started. Got like 800. And then Platte River video happened,
Yeah.
which went semi-viral. It didn't actually run up that many views, but especially on Facebook, it went around and around and around, which is the big issue.
That's where I saw it was on Facebook, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm not kidding
Yeah.
you, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh my God, this kid, like,
He's in deep crap.
yeah.
Somebody's gonna hunt this kid.
Yeah,
down and
that's
kill him.
exactly, because I mean, I'd fished the Platte, and I'm like, it's super clear. It's like you can't hide anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, holy shit, this kid is videoing this humongous run. This place is gonna get blown up.
Yeah.
And it
did. My excuse, I suppose, as an innocent kid who did this.
How old were you when that happened?
I mean, that was my first year up here.
Okay.
So I was 18.
Yeah.
And I thought, so I've always been to Sleeping Bear Dunes, like I said.
Yep.
And then that was my first time seeing it. And there was a line of people
Sure.
fishing.
Yep.
And it was nothing I'd ever seen before. Everyone is sharing the same space, lined up
This was
fishing.
during salmon season, right? Was it salmon?
Yeah, no, I'm
it
talking
was.
about the actual day of this video.
Okay.
So yeah, first salmon season, and because it's the hatchery stream,
Yep.
I thought that it was the premier place to go
Sure.
because not only it's the hatchery stream, so everyone knows
Yep.
that's where the coho come
That's
from,
where the coho come from.
and the numbers that they put in to create that blows every other stocking out of the water. So from what I saw there, I was like, okay, this is bigger than the Betsy. This is the coho capital of the world.
Right.
Like, and then the footage, which I put the drone up, got the footage. I was like, okay, definitely have to share this. Like, but I didn't share it. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Like, I never even had that like concept
Right.
until like pretty quickly after the reactions I got. Then definitely it wasn't just, not only was it something I shouldn't have done if I had known like the culture
Sure.
of fishing, but it's also illegal because you cannot fly drones in this area.
That was the one thing when I saw it, and I'm like, holy crap! He just flew a drone in a national forest,
Yeah.
which is not legal.
So yeah, I found that out pretty quick, but I didn't take it down because of that. And then so many people called the National Park Service.
Yeah.
Sounds like they got hundreds of calls.
Yeah.
And I was actually in class, and I got contacted by the university public safety, and I had to go to the university cops and get handed a like notice.
Yeah.
Right, like all that for, violating this whatever. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, holy shit. Like, yeah, I definitely did that.
Right.
Like, where do we go from here? And they were pretty much like, we don't want this to go to court. Like, we just want you to take the video down and pay the fine.
Sure.
I was like, yeah, of course. Like, really sorry. Like, took it down right then.
You didn't. Yeah. I mean, you didn't know.
So this was before I even had a chance to take the video down because of the damage that it would cause to just the number of people fishing.
Right.
So that ended it right there. So it got like 250,000 on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it brought my subscribers up to like 2,000.
Yeah.
and then that got took down, and then continuously after that, I had a lot of like hostile interactions on the river.
How did you deal with that? I mean, you're 18-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid.
It was pretty awkward. Always super awkward, and usually it was just like people from across the river would say something like, "Oh, like here's that idiot," or like, you know, probably not use those specific words, a lot worse words.
Yeah, a little more aggressive.
But I had 2 different times in downtown Traverse City where people were like really aggressive towards me, and I pretty much had to like get the heck out of there. And that's an area where it's especially intense because of the proximity.
Sure.
And then that's where a lot of the messages and threats that I got originated from.
Damn, man.
So I pretty much got constant threats. And I made a video basically like trying to apologize.
Sure.
And explaining like I'm getting, you know, threats every day.
Yeah.
That people are going to like break all my car windows, and they're going to find out where I live and like, you know, do stuff. And then pretty much then the DNR contacted me and told me like, we have this process for dealing with angler harassment.
Sure.
Like if you need help, like do this. And I was pretty much like, no. Like
that's cool. I mean, that's pretty cool that they actually reached out to you because they could see that it was starting to escalate.
They can see the comments.
Yeah, they, because they, you know, they want to see, you know,
they
fishing.
Want people. Yeah,
they want fish.
People.
Fishing is good for, you know, for the DNR. It's good for the towns. Yep. It's not the best for the river, obviously.
Right.
And the issue with that river was that it was so noticeable on the banks.
Right.
The bank traffic was so immense.
Yeah.
That it had really major effects on the banks of the river, which was like, for me, like, you know, hurting people's feelings, like that sucks, obviously, but like seeing the riverbank that was like personally the most disappointing thing.
Yeah, because I mean the Platte. I mean, if you haven't been on the Platte, it is an incredibly beautiful river. It's super crystal clear, and I mean it's really pristine. Yeah. So it wouldn't take much foot traffic to really beat that down. So
for sure,
that sucks that had to happen, but I mean it did. Lesson learned.
For sure.
Yeah.
And what I thought was really cool is, you know, I apologize and, you know, no more, not even naming rivers, like everything from then on, I don't want to show rivers, and I'm trying to promote ethical angling and try to have opposite effects. And there's so many people that I met that have been nice to me or helped me out since then. And even immediately in the aftermath, kids from Benzie County that were, even kids that were hostile to me, that turned around and became, you know, friends, basically. People got over it, and, you know, we worked things out, and there's been so many more people who have been super helpful to me and super nice to me. So
I think
all those people, if they watch this, they probably won't, because I don't know, but it's like they know, you know, who I'm talking about. Like there's been a lot of people who have been way nicer to me than they should have been. So really thankful to all those people.
No, and that's it, and that's good that, you know, something that honestly, it was really, there was no purpose behind what you did. I mean, you didn't know. I mean, and it snowballed the way it did. So I mean, obviously there's a regret of that, but like there's a good part of it that come about it too. So I mean, which is great to see, and I totally think that you have made amends, and like you said, you apologized, and since then your stuff has been incredible. I mean, even from the short videos to everything, you've taught a lot of people, you know, about fishing, but even more so just to be, like you said, good ethical fishermen and doing things the right way, and treating fish the right way, and treating the rivers the right way, and cleaning up, and I mean, that is really, I think, the ultimate goal of what your channel has really kind of, I don't know what's the word, I guess just transitioned into, is something that's more than just fish catches. And I mean, I think that's great, you know, but I mean, your biggest, we were talking about earlier, your biggest videos are what? Just bobber downs? Just a bobber going underwater?
No doubt. Yeah, you can look and see the top most popular videos. They all have a bobber in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially salmon.
So yeah, which is, I mean, it's kind of wild. Honestly, it's kind of wild. It's, I mean, it's just a bobber going under the water. But
It's
at the
frustrating
end of
because, like I said, I like all kinds of fishing.
yeah, but now you have to. Now you have to like. Well, I guess I'm that guy. I'm the bobber down guy.
I've tried to broaden my audience.
Yeah.
In the summertime, I've tried. You can go back every summer, especially early on. I do all kinds of stuff. My first summer after my freshman year, I pretty much traveled around Michigan with these kayaks, which I now have again on the top of my car.
Yep.
Because the guy from this kayak company gave me these 2 kayaks and he gave me $5,000.
Nice.
And which at the time I was like, holy crap, but it was totally not enough actually to make the amount of videos he wanted me to make.
Oh yeah.
Not even close. But I did that and I fished all over for all broad variety of species. And I just looked. One of my favorite videos is one of my least viewed videos.
Really?
And it's where I'm topwater fishing for muskie and I get multiple camera angles of a muskie on topwater out of a kayak.
Which would be incredible.
One of my least viewed videos ever.
That's wild.
Along with all my other warm water species videos.
And that's weird. It's like there's a niche there, niche. I don't know what the word, how to even say it, but like people, there's something about like steelhead. They want to see the steelhead, you know. I don't know if it's because there's so many other, channels out there that are warm water, like bass or muskie. Or I mean, I think freaking muskie's incredible. I mean, they're right there, in my opinion, with a steelhead and a salmon. I mean, but it's weird though. Like you just found that key, and it's hard to. I guess it's hard to get away from that.
I don't get how the algorithm works because YouTube will give you these things like people who watch your channel also watch. Yeah. And it's like me and like Addicted Fishing and like the couple of the Steelhead Salmon guys, but it's also like these other guys like Thai Pig Patrol and like people from, not Midwest, like the sort of central area of the country who don't do any of this stuff.
Right.
So I'm like, why does it doesn't, like my channel doesn't grow and those other types of videos don't get views. Right. They never get viewed over time.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how YouTube has actually pigeonholed me into only these things. But it really has. After 6-7 years of doing it, it does nothing else works. Nothing else will
doesn't
get
matter
any
what
views.
you do. If you do something completely awesome but different, it's just like, okay, thanks.
You're the steelhead guy. That's what you're known as. That's what the people that follow you. That's what they're looking for, and they want nothing more. It's like if you're posting like it seems like those muskie videos, which are freaking awesome, but like you're basically starting fresh. Zero subscribers.
When I post videos like that, my entire analytics go so down. I have to post multiple steelhead videos to recover from making a post like that.
That's crazy.
So that's why I stopped doing it, because it not only doesn't grow me, it hurts me when I post other stuff. So
that's wild.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's pretty lame.
That is wild. I mean, that's got to be bothersome because like you said, you put a lot of effort into these other things and you would hope that, you just would think, okay, well, I mean, I got all these people. They want to, do they want to see me or do they want to see this,
Exactly. And that's kind of why I think one of your notes was the future of my channel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were hoping I was going to have like a very like rosy outlook, but like
no, not at all.
Like after trying these things, I think that I've probably saturated a lot of the audience that I can reach for this specific group of people.
Sure. Yeah.
And like I said, trying to broaden it has only hurt everything. And kind of every fall I get to a point where I'm like, let's see what happens this fall. Like maybe I'll finally grow again. Yeah. And it doesn't happen.
It's so almost as if you're like typecasted into, like you're an actor and you're only good at this part. Yeah.
That's how the YouTube algorithm certainly treats it. It's pretty much left me hanging there, I would say.
It is weird. So, I mean, I guess looking at the future, what does the future look like? Is it like you continuing to do YouTube after you graduate, or are you just going to be like right off into the sunset and say, you know what, man, I had a good time. we did some great things. I had some good stuff, and I'm just gonna
want to go fishing now.
Just gonna do my own thing. I mean, or is there a plan, or is there a goal?
There's definitely a plan. So hopefully I'll defend my master's thesis this summer.
Okay.
And then being done with school will be huge for me because I've never been free to put all of my effort into this.
Sure.
This has always been a side job. Not only have I been in school, but I also work while I'm in school. I worked at the dining hall, which was a side gig, but I worked a lot of hours there.
Right.
My entire undergrad, I worked at a factory during COVID. I tried guiding, but it's always been multiple things and then YouTube wherever I can fit it.
Yeah.
So after I graduate, I'm not planning on jumping into a career at least this fall.
Okay.
So this fall is kind of like, I guess, one last chance, I suppose.
Yeah.
Fall is always my best season.
Right.
So if it doesn't grow after fall, I think I'll probably, hopefully get wrapped into a career job and hopefully either post occasionally or hang it up and, say thanks to everyone for the support and hang it up. Because while I enjoy filming a lot, I enjoy the challenge of filming, I enjoy the editing, I think it takes away something from the fishing experience as well.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if you guys have experienced that feeling.
Totally. Like, I want to do it because I love doing it. I enjoy doing it. But if that ever goes away, then that's it. I don't want it to feel like this is a job. And, I don't know. You want to be able to enjoy everything you do. And
then again, I do like just taking a trip to go up there. No cameras. Like, hardly even pull my phone out to take a picture and just back to your roots, fishing. Or same with hunting. Like, going behind the house, like, I know I'm not going to see any giant deer, but, like, just going back there, enjoying the set, enjoying the hunt.
Yeah.
And just relax.
There's got to be something refreshing about just being able to go and do your thing like you did when you were a kid.
Right.
Yeah. I haven't really done that much. But I know what it feels like, and I know it's preferable to me. And I also will say my best friends who I fish with a lot of time, they can't wait for me to hang it up, I'm sure, because it's no fun for them.
Yeah, because you create work within that whole trip.
I'm sitting there like, wait, don't cast it. And they're sitting there like ready to hook a fish. I'm like, all right, go. Wait, reel it in.
And
like,
cut.
And, obviously a huge shout out to those people who fish with me a lot and are willing to help out.
Yeah.
But it's, everyone gets drug into the chore a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you get a sour feeling when you catch a fish and it's not on camera, and that should never be the case.
I know.
So,
dang it. We didn't get it on camera. Well, I guess. All right, throw it back.
Not worth it.
Not worth it.
You just caught a fish. It's supposed to be.
No, and because the level of work that it takes to actually get the bobber down. I mean, let's just look at how many hours of non-fish catch or non-bobber down do you have? It's got to be ridiculous amounts of hours.
Oh yeah, no, unfathomable numbers of SD card space,
right?
And it's brutal. And it shouldn't be about that.
No,
but it's
it's fun though.
Frustrating.
It is like awesome though when it happens. So like when you get it all together and it actually looks awesome and you can share it, people love it. That's a great feeling. I mean, that's like, that's a ultimate high for someone like me. And I mean, and I know that the people that see it, dude, they dig it, man. They love it. I mean, and it's like you said, it's all those great comments that you get rather than, they way overshadow the negative comments from, years past, or if, you did something that somebody didn't like. So, I mean, that's what I love, just the accolades and just the attaboys, that you get. So, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I usually think if someone takes the time to comment something nice like that, then, probably brought something to their day, and that's, that's the least I can do. I think that's worth, the effort, and I do enjoy, that, and, trying to, the challenge of sharing it and then the feeling of sharing it, I think is worth it.
Yeah. So you are involved with Sea Grant. Tell me a little bit about that.
So recently, I've been trying to look for ways that I can help with my video. So in the fall, it's always like, try to fix all the problems with the salmon run and people
Sure.
littering. And, so many people are watching the videos. So I'm hoping, if only a few people get these takeaways, it helps. But the Sea Grant thing is a Michigan Steelhead program where they are trying to figure out, what composition of the run is composed of wild and stocked fish.
Sure.
And they want to know like what year classes are showing up. So they made an app, Great Lakes Angler Diary, and you can log all of your catches.
Okay.
And it's also a way to give feedback on things like angler satisfaction or like what people's perceptions are and like the experience they're getting.
Experience, okay.
So it all goes to Michigan Sea Grant, not to the DNR.
Okay.
And they take that data and eventually they'll write it up into reports and they will share it with the DNR. Some things that it might tell people, like how much of the run is stocked fish composing, or like are stocked fish running at different times of the year, stuff like that. So it's basically just a way for them to get a lot of free data.
Right.
And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it would be controversial. Turns out it's actually controversial to some people. But to me,
How so?
I think the managers should have as much data as they can get. And they can't afford to have people out doing creel surveys every day and getting all this data. So there's a concern that if there's a ton of wild fish, right, in rivers that people don't realize have so many wild fish.
Right.
So some people think that the DNR is always looking for an excuse to cut stocking numbers.
Huh. I guess I never thought about that.
Yeah, a lot of people do, apparently.
Okay.
And there's mixed, people have mixed opinions about the DNR in Michigan. I found it's really
100%.
polar. It seems like it's either really in support or really critical of every decision. Yeah. And we have a new fisheries chief.
There's a new fisheries chief.
So that'll be interesting as well.
Yeah.
But in general, there's some skeptical people, but I think that they should have the information.
Right.
Right. I think that you shouldn't, skeptics think they're going to use the information to hurt people.
Sure.
People who know how natural resource agencies work will assume they'll use the information to help.
Right.
So you have to realize that the natural resource managers want to see fishermen happy. That's like if you get into that, that's something that's important to you.
Right.
So I think that's important for people to realize.
I think, people that are skeptical about stuff, they don't want to accept change, And I think that's, listen, as you get older, you got to be able to accept change and I call it being a change agent, like if you just need to have a good understanding of that change and be able to like sell that change to people to make them understand that like this isn't a bad thing here. Like information isn't a bad thing, I mean, there's information that gets used for bad stuff, but this isn't it.
I certainly don't see that to be the case. Yeah, I think, but really, they don't have enough information right now to do anything with it because I think so. Last season, they only got like 60 or 80 complete data sets.
Oh wow!
And they need complete data sets, so you need to record every time you go fishing, fall through spring. You need to record the skunks, and all of that stuff, so they can know how many fish are people catching per hour.
Okay.
Right. So it's like there's thousands of people who steelhead fish regularly in this state. So they don't have a great sample size based off last season. And then hopefully this season will be better because at the end of last season, I started sharing it.
Yep.
So we'll see what they get this year, but I've had fun with it. It's fun to keep a little log and.
Yeah. So where would a person go to find it?
So, if you search Great Lakes Angler Diary, you'll find it.
Is it an app?
It's easiest to go online. It is an app, but if you go online, register, click the link to download the app. That's the easiest way.
Okay.
So it's not hard to find. Michigan Sea Grant, which for people who don't know what that is, it's part of Michigan State Extension. Is what this part of the Sea Grant is, and the Sea Grant's whole point is to like promote fisheries first of all, and then what the extension does is they share the science with the people. They're trying to make the science that researchers do like accessible to the people and like bridge that gap. That's kind of the role of the sea grant across the Great Lakes.
I like it. I'm going to jump in on that for sure. So tell your friends. All 50 people listening.
Yep. Got to record the skunks.
That's right. Yeah. Trust me, I would be their best skunk guy this year. Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure.
I got plenty too.
Yeah. So it happened. So, so I guess when you get done, like you're going to graduate this year, like what would be your ultimate trip?
I thought about this point, and I also sometimes stress that I think that we live in a migratory fish paradise.
Sure.
So I think that there's so much in the Great Lakes that I would like to experience that I think my trip would just be to hit all the parts of the Great Lakes I haven't got to do yet.
Okay.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
So people are always bugging me about when am I going to go out to the Pacific Northwest.
Sure.
To be honest, I have little interest in doing that.
Yeah.
I don't really want to fish like an imperiled fishery.
Sure.
When I can fish here.
Yeah.
I haven't even scratched the surface here, and we can all fish for these fish guilt-free.
Yeah.
They're here for us to catch.
I mean, the UP is got some pretty cool stuff going on up
There's
there
a lot of
too.
good water up there.
Yeah, there is.
UP is cool.
Yeah.
I've done some stuff in the UP. I do plenty of stuff that I don't film.
Yeah.
So UP is up there. I like to do some more stuff. Maybe, with the Wisconsin thing is crazy. New York stuff is crazy.
Yeah. There's
really
definitely some cool
so
stuff
there's
out
no
there.
shortage.
No, yeah,
here.
I think you could go a lifetime and try and cover all those bases and still be more to do. So, yeah, that's awesome. So I'm going to use you as a test person. So this is completely unrelated. I didn't share this with you, but I'm just going to ask these questions. These are 3 questions that I'm going to start asking everybody that I have on the show, and they're totally unrelated to the subject that we're doing today. So,
Perfect.
First question, what's in your playlist on your radio or on your phone?
Oh,
What's your go-to?
man. So I'm the worst person to ask this question. So I have no music streaming. Like,
Okay.
I have no way to stream music. I don't listen to music.
You don't listen to music.
Oh,
See? There you go.
Pure silence.
Yeah.
So I used to listen to country for a little bit, and I just stopped. I actually, the reason I stopped listening to music is I have a Google phone, and there was this streaming, it was called a Google Play Music.
Sure.
And I just wasn't really into it, so I used that, and they discontinued the app. Ever since then, I just haven't listened to any music.
So you're just FM radio guy or CD guy, or you don't even listen to that?
I usually drive in silence.
Oh, I can't. I'd go crazy.
Yeah, for real. I'm not even making that up. That's always a tough question for me. Everyone's like, you get that question, and I'm like, man, I haven't listened to music in years.
That's wild, man.
I used to like country, though.
Sure.
I used to like country.
Okay. All right. That's great. That's a great first answer.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat. Second answer. What was your first car?
So I drove a Chevy Cobalt,
Ooh.
which was it was like a handout car.
Oh, yeah.
And then with the help of my mom, I bought a Jeep Commander.
Okay.
Which was the start of pretty much the reason that I never have any money is because ever since then, I want to buy, pay for my own gas in my own car because I drive everywhere.
Yeah.
And that Jeep was a nightmare.
Right.
And then, ever since then, I bought the 4Runner, which I showed in some of my videos,
Yep.
which was a ton of fun.
Yeah, I love the 4Runners, man.
Oh man, I could talk about that. I could do a whole thing about that, but
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the 4Runner.
it's gone now. It's still running.
Yeah.
You can still see it if
wild.
you're up in Benzie County. You might
Sure.
see it. The kid I sold it to still drives it around.
That's
So
awesome.
Thing's a beast.
That's awesome. What color was the Cobalt?
white.
Nice.
Now I have a white car again. Once I get rid of that Suburban out there, just bought my buddy's white Chevy Malibu. So just trying to save some money.
Oh yeah, good gas mileage. That that Suburban you're driving right now, not good on gas. I'm
No.
sure. Yeah. So, all right, final question. There's got to be something that nobody knows about you. Like what is something that what is something that, like a special talent or something like that you've never shared?
Oh God, you should have let me prepare for this one, man.
No, because I can't. Yeah, that's not how it works, man. Like, we're just kind of going unhinged here.
Let's see. Special talent.
Like a great dancer.
Can't dance. We already established I'm not athletic.
Two left feet.
Most of my specialty is my height, right? Like,
right.
I can get to parts of the river that other people can't, stuff like that. But
You
I also
can stand in deep water.
Yep. But I can't jump, so I can't fully utilize. I could never dunk.
So it's like, thank God you're 6'5".
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take that.
Listen, like, you get on the river and you see a 6'5" person coming up to you, a little bit menacing. You know, you can if you had it in you, which I don't think you got it in you.
No,
but
hell
you
no.
could be like, hey, move.
Yeah, it's my spot now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
I might have to get back with you on that one.
you're gonna have to get back with me.
Don't have
because
a talent preloaded.
The height is like yeah, okay, you're tall.
Well, then again, it's like
It's not the special.
A lot of the people in the YouTube videos don't know that. Like,
No,
from
they do not.
Because like when I first met you, I knew you were tall, but I didn't know you were 6'5" tall. Because I'm 5'9".
Yep.
I'm a freaking little guy.
Maybe one thing. How about this? So I say I'm not athletic, but one thing about me, I love soccer.
Okay.
I'm not like most people, like in America, or like especially this demographic
Right.
of sportsmen. Like,
yeah.
we love football. But
Yep.
Baseball.
I love watching soccer.
World Cup. You were all in
of
on
it.
the World Cup.
English Premier League.
Yeah.
Like, I watch it every weekend. I watch soccer.
Really?
And
Okay.
I love, like juggling a soccer ball. Like, I used to, really get into that and try to do like cool tricks and stuff. So
Sure.
All right.
I always was a wannabe soccer player.
Well, there
But,
you go. There you go. Something nobody knew. You're an aspiring soccer player.
Do have a soccer video, a World Cup challenge, extremely underrated video if you haven't seen it on my channel.
Okay.
So you can witness
Nice.
firsthand.
Nice. All right. So let's plug your channel because I want everybody to see this stuff. I want to be able to share it with everybody. Tell us where they can find you.
Fish Fray. That's my channel.
Fray.
I don't really do Instagram or anything else like that. So
Okay.
you can find the videos at Fish Fray YouTube channel.
Okay.
If you type it in, it might autocorrect to Fish Fry.
Yeah.
But you'll find it. So
right.
that's where I've been doing my thing, and
Cool.
I'll share this video as well with my
I
subscribers.
appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Davis, thank you for coming on, man. This was great. It's great
Yeah, it
talking
was fun.
with you. Great meeting you for the first time. So
Definitely.
So, all right. Well, guys, I appreciate y'all listening. Hope you enjoyed this. If you get a chance, go in, leave a comment, give it a 5-star review, and we're going to try and continue on with this whole Steelhead sort of frame of mind here, and we'll transition into something soon down the road. But, again, thanks for checking out the podcast, and, well, hey, we'll see y'all on the next go-around. Thanks for listening. This is the Mic'd Up Outdoor Podcast. Have a good one, guys. Thanks.